Hi, I'm Coach MK, founder of the Fitness Protection Program. I'm a run coach, not a life coach. We're never really talking about the running. Running is the tool. It's the conduit we use to examine the world we live in, as well as its impact on our own lives and the lives of the people around us. How we react to certain people and to certain stories tells us a lot about how we view ourselves. I'm committed to the thoughtful, intentional exploration of the importance of running so that no one discounts their own badassery, ever. Final note, this podcast is geared towards every runner who won't lose their home, livelihood, or health insurance if they show up to the corral with a hangover. Not that I'm encouraging you to do that, just saying. Sit back, relax, and enjoy the Fitness Protection Podcast.
It's time to get started with a nice, easy warm-up. If you haven't been doing your silly toes, anytime is the perfect time to start. Love it.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you for joining us here for Ask Away, the weekly Q&A live stream, which we got to see Nadia Bowles-Weber speak at a friend's church today. And she did a Q&A at the end, but said, actually, it's more like a Q&A. I don't know that I have answers, but I definitely have opinions. So I feel like I should steal that. Like, I don't know that I have answers. I definitely have opinions. But we're going to try to answer your questions as best we can in this low risk manner. This live stream will then be produced into a podcast, which we will throw out into the world, hopefully a little faster than I did the podcast last week. But we'd had very limited everything with the snow that pounded us on Tuesday and continued really through Friday. So we got out of the house today and that was really nice. Got some work done yesterday and that was great. I apologize that everyone had to wait for all the codes to go in the back end of the website. That was totally 100% on me. It was all hell breaking loose with all of us home alone with each other for a lot longer than any of us expected to be this holiday week. Yeah, you think it'd be easier with my husband home for 10 days. It was not. It was not.
A lot of people all in one place.
Yeah, a lot of yelling. A whole lot of, can we go outside yet? I don't want to go outside. It's cold. Can we make hot chocolate? Can we make hot chocolate again? Can we make it a third time? Can we make it a fourth time? What do you mean? No. Like, oh my God. Oh my God. And I haven't been running because the streets are really bad. And Denver is trying this new thing where they use less of the salt that melts all the ice on the roads. But the trade-off is that means that they aren't sweeping all of the roads or plowing all of the roads that they usually do. Because it used to be like, well, just go over most things and then put the salt behind it. And when you're not using the salt to save the environment, then there are roads that are like mine. We weren't able to access the main thoroughfares. So I've been trapped at home for 4 days for the first time in God knows how long. If this is really what they're going to keep doing, I'm going to have to get a new car because I can't drive in this. Like my car is still stuck, buried behind my house. Anyway, we'll see. Yay for the environment. I'm all for it too, but like, is this really?
But figure a better solution out so that people aren't just stuck at home and like, missing work and unable to get their kids to school and getting in car accidents, for God's sake. Oh my gosh.
With all what we're doing in the Holiday Strength Challenge, we're trying to raise money for a bus in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, just to help kids on scholarship keep their access to these after school programs. There's no public transportation. Transportation scarcity is a real problem in Milwaukee. And when additional tax cuts and additional budget cuts come through, as they're slated to do, additional school bus routes will be cut and these kids will be completely out of luck. They'll have no way to access the program that they've been given scholarships to. So it's kind of terrible to give kids with scholarships with one hand and then withhold their ability to access them with the other. We're trying to close that gap. So the more I talk about it, the more I think about it, the more I notice it now. And it's sort of like once your eyes are open to an issue, it's like, wow, we have that too. Oh my gosh. Well, these families, like they're walking on ice to get to a bus stop. So yay, they plowed the roads so that people can ride the bus and get to work. But if you can't walk there, if you live further than walking distance, like how far do you have to walk to get to a bus stop? And it's just my brain has been twisting with all the questions, like doing the calculations. Like if I had to go somewhere, like when we have a whole lot of snow, from my house in the middle of town might have to walk up to 2 miles to access a bus stop. So try thinking about, the calculation of that, walking on the ice on a reduced bus schedule, standing completely out in the cold. It's been 25 degrees some days. Not that every problem in the world is ours to solve, but once you become aware of some of the bigger ones, it's hard not to want to do more about it. So if anything I've said sounds interesting to you, if you're kind of like, wow, that sucks, it does. This is a tangible issue we can solve for a very specific group of children. Let's go ahead and do that. That $45 to Play University, all of it will go towards that bus that they would need to close that accessibility gap for the kids on scholarship using their program. So these are kids who are above the poverty line, not just making it easy on families that could be doing it themselves. These are families dealing with transportation scarcity who make too much money to qualify as below the poverty line and totally poor. But that does not mean that they're rich. It's not like a binary. There's something just above the poverty line. They make too much money to access a whole lot of services. And that's where the scholarships come in. But now those kids, the free transportation they've been relying on is about to disappear. And we're going to try to help them out. So holiday strength challenge. I've been trying to make it interesting. I've been trying to keep it fun. We're having the whole team help out. And we had a little technical difficulties behind the scenes today with the website. Apologize for that. But there should be more videos and more live streams coming with the holiday strength challenge and craziness throughout the month. Now that we've especially got this new co-streaming, live streaming software that we can do fun things with, like we did just now with the Great American Pie Bake Off.
That was one of the best things I've ever seen. I love it. If that's not American, I don't know what is.
Between the crafting and the actual pie baking.
Truly. I mean, that is everything about being an American at this time of year right there, I think.
Right.
The DIY ideal. You guys both just crushed it. I loved it.
Let's give my daughter some credit, man. She loves this stuff. She lives to craft. We were supposed to do this live stream on Tuesday, but we didn't have good enough internet connectivity to do it. Then we were going to do it on Wednesday, but we couldn't coordinate with Helen because it wouldn't have been as much fun without the kids there. Diane has just been looking at the stuff in the kitchen, walking past it all day, like for days, being like, Mom, can we do it yet? I'm like, no, because we can't go get more paper once it's out. Paper doesn't last long in our house. So we could not print out the instructions and we couldn't find paper. Literally doesn't last long in our house. The instructions that came home with my other kid doesn't like me saying his name on the live streams anymore. So I'm going to try to do that less. He handed me this was in his backpack and it was, a craft suggestion about making a pie. And I'm like, man, I can bake pie faster than I can make this. This is complicated. It has like 22 steps in it. And I was like, this could be entertaining for my runner interrupted crowd. So that was what led to the live stream earlier. It was infinitely more stressful. And in case you're wondering and don't have a whole lot of time to go back and watch the video, it took, in fact, 36 minutes for me to craft that pie. And it took Helen 38 and a half to prep it and stick in the oven.
I'm really impressed with Helen because no way would I be able to do that. My husband, maybe, but me, absolutely not. I am like all thumbs when it comes to pastry. I have no idea what to do. I was very impressed that she managed to do that with kids underfoot. That was really something.
That really was.
Warm up is done. Feeling good. Heart rate hovering around 140. Now let's get into the heart of this podcast for the long run.
Here we go. Start answering some questions. First, we're going to start with the weekly wins for my clients in Runner Interrupted for #Runners Not Running. We're going to then move over the questions from Rebuild, a program for experienced runners returning to running after a period away. For any reason, we don't really care why. We just really want to make sure that we ease you back in slowly and carefully and cautiously so that you'll be rebuilding instead of re-breaking. And then finally, we'll tackle all the questions from our people in Maintain, which is a program designed to keep everyone ready for whatever they want to do. Maximum options, minimum pressure year round. There are opportunities to ramp up whenever you want. Our marathon training plans are free. We're going to be offering another suite of sharpening type of products throughout the year, meaning you really want to run a fast 5K. God bless you, but here you go. Yes, I will give you a free plan for that. We're going to make it as short as possible. And it's going to trip people out when they're like, but your marathon plans are 10 weeks long and this 5K plan is 6 weeks long. I'll be like, Yep.
That's right.
That's not how the math works, y'all. I can't sharpen you in 2 weeks. You ain't a pencil. But anyway, gonna cause more questions than answers once that releases out. And this is why I've been sitting on it for so long, because I'm just like, I don't want to have to talk about this. This is not the conversation I want to have as a coach. Like, let's get everybody used to this first, then get them in slow burn. Wouldn't you rather do slow burn? Slow burn is so much more fun than trying to do like a fast 5K plan on your own. Seriously, it really, truly is. But I digress. We'll talk through all that later. If you have not yet, registered for the webinar on Friday. We are doing the goal setting year ahead forward looking webinar where I kind of talk you through my framework for the year ahead and how I'll be looking at my year, how I'll be encouraging Coach Sarah to look at her year in spite of the fact that she's already signed up for like 5 races. If Facebook is telling me the truth, I've seen your conversation, Sarah. I know you're excited.
What races am I signed up for?
I don't know. There was like one in October, I think. Oh, MDI.
Oh, yeah. Kara wants me to sign up for the MDI half. And I said I could be tempted. The only one that I've signed up for is New York City half marathon because I got in with the lottery.
Yep. So New York City half marathon and then 3 days at the fair and then MDI. And I'm sure there'll be others. Just saying, there's no good or bad as long as we're kind of have a bigger framework that we're thinking about and plugging things into. Because every single race can't be like the best, like possible PR race ever. And I'm not saying that you are, but this is the only framework we have to evaluate what we just did. Is it faster than what I did before? And I'm kind of like, if that's how we're going to look at things, then we got to be really judicious about what we choose to do. However, there are other ways to look at ourselves and judge our progress. So it all starts with, what do I need to get? And I will walk you through that getting planning process in the webinar that we're going to have on Friday. Go to fitnessprotection.com/events and register. If you cannot make it, then you will receive a link to the recording afterward. I will not be converting it into a podcast. This is only for people who register. So get in there.
Hey, all right. Cool. So tonight we did not have any submitted weekly wins from Runner Interrupted, but I just want to quote an amazing comment in the Facebook groups today. Jennifer Wolf, our amazing coach in Runner Interrupted, posted a really beautiful painting that she did at paint night last night, which I am legit impressed by. And like, I would totally hang that in my living room, Jennifer, if you're listening.
It's like something like making a pie, but like the idea of like going to a craft night, I would need to be inebriated to walk through the door. That stresses me out.
They sell wine, so that would absolutely be doable.
Be a terrible idea.
The one time I've ever done it is they like basically just told you exactly what to do. And I found when they told me exactly what to do, like do a circle here, now take this color and do like this, I found it very soothing. What Jennifer did looks way more like actually took some skill than what I did the one time I ever did it. And someone commented, that painting is beautiful. I have zero artistic ability. One of my Patreon perks for a podcast I support belongs to a rage walking group. I feel like rage painting would fit well in there. And I just like could not get past the idea of a rage walking group. So if you're in Runner Interrupted, like you got to go find Jennifer's painting, got to go find that comment. And you have to ask the person who commented, how do I get in on rage walking? Because like, I want to know how I get in on rage walking.
Right. I feel like that's just how I walk.
I feel like that's all of New York City and me whenever I'm in New York City, because I'm trying really hard to fit in. And so people in Runner Interrupted have been a little bit quiet, and we get that. There's a lot going on. People have a lot of holiday stress, and just want to let you know that we're here for you, and you don't have to have something bright or shiny to say in order to jump in and say, hey, reach out if you need us. And so moving on.
Well, like we're going into, I did a live stream a long time ago, and I'll let us move on from this after I put this out there. Part of having ADHD and not being neuronormative is I go into every situation fully expecting to fail, because that's the only way I'm going to prevent failure from happening. I go and I look for the weak points. Where could I make a mistake? Where am I likely to make a mistake? And I sort of shore it up. And in a time that I can't shore it up, then I have to ask myself, do I really need to do this? How important is this? It's why I have like a plan B meal. I just assume plan A is like make something from scratch that the whole family will enjoy. And the odds of that happening are like, seriously not. Seriously not. Plan like A and a half is that I get to eat with my children, which is like that happens now because we have a nanny who helps. But the plan B meal is like on a night when there's like something happened, the nanny can't be here. I don't want to eat whatever I've assembled for the children. And then I need to have a plan B that is quick and ready for me, or I might not eat dinner. So I have a plan B, a plan C, a plan D, and a plan E, and they're in my house all the time. So I tell you that to tell you this. This is the month where you're going to need a plan B workout. And it's okay. Don't look at what you missed. Give yourself credit for what you did. To go back to the beginning of this broadcast, I told you I have not moved since Tuesday. I have not run since Tuesday. And I'm okay with that. And you got to be okay with that. You got to give yourself, it's not just even giving yourself grace, because you give yourself grace when you feel like you screwed up. Like you've got to refuse to look at anything you did or didn't do in the month of December, it's not screwing up. Anything you do is, yay, you did it in spite of everything, in spite of the fact that like our schedules are hectic and we've got to craft things and the kids are home and they want you to do things. And there's everything in the world getting in between you and a little bit of alone time. Anything you manage to do for yourself, celebrate it. And who cares what you didn't do? And this might be the only month in the year where you are going to be like, you know what? I'm going to fail. Like, this is how I live every day. And this is why I don't actually feel like I fail ever. This is why I feel like I'm winning at life no matter what I do. And it's not that I've given up all expectations for myself or all hope. It's that it's a different pragmatic, but that kind of takes away from like, either I give my number one target or I fail. And I haven't been able to operate in that framework pretty much ever. So I'm so happy with whatever I do that it's almost enraging to other people around me who are striving for the perfect answer all the time. And I'm just like, yay for having a broken brain. I don't know what to tell you, but I would, at least for 1 month, or just to try it tomorrow, just try to adopt that mindset of my plans are not going to work out. Now what? What do I need to get out of this day? Meal and a run. And if you get both, yay you. And if you don't, you didn't screw up. But you might find yourself 6 days away from a run being like, if this doesn't happen tomorrow, I've made plans. I'm running tomorrow. Period. I'm just saying, because I feel a little crazy right now. In that way of like, I just want to go for a fucking run. So that is happening tomorrow no matter what. But if you don't have snow that is completely locking you in with the brand new snow management system from your city that has trapped you in your house for 5 days, then, go get out and run just because I couldn't. But anyway, I'm not shaming myself for it. It is what it is, but I'm making absolutely sure I can go tomorrow. If you don't find yourself in this position, if a little bit of planning goes a long, long way this time of year, Grace does too.
All right. Speaking of which, we have got Rebuild up next. Yay, Rebuild. It's going to be a fun month in Rebuild. The strength looks, nice.
You know why? It's because Tiff McDuffie's in there.
Yeah. Hi, Tiff McDuffie. She's also watching right now, I'm pretty sure.
Yay.
We are so happy to have you in Rebuild. And we have one question in Rebuild tonight. Don't worry. We have 12 questions to maintain.
Oh, great. Okay.
We have one question in Rebuild. Sometimes when I stand for a long time, my inner thighs start to ache. It doesn't come up often, but it sure is irritating when it does. What do I do? I'm guessing it's some sort of posture or glutes not engaging thing.
Well, if it's inner thigh, that's going to be a couple of things. Without me seeing you and evaluating you, and to be perfectly clear, this is for entertainment purposes only. I'm not a medical professional. And I'm not necessarily entertaining, but I'm definitely not a medical professional. So when you're standing, take stock of what's going on with your feet. Take stock of what is going on with your lower back. If you've got some sort of a posterior tilt going on, again, it's not necessarily a bad thing, but there's going to be an overcompensation. So those little muscles in your groin and your inner thighs were not designed to do very much. They were there to support load. They were not designed to bear loads. So to that effect, if they're a little stressed out, then they're doing something they weren't designed to do. And in all likelihood, that could be coming from lack of mobility in your ankles. That could be coming from your pelvic floor. It could be connected if you're incontinent as well, a little postpartum incontinence going on, then those two are definitely connected. But there are a lot of things it could be, but your best bet is always be to go see a pelvic floor PT. I'm real sorry. I know I wish I could give you here it is, here you go. But the groin and inner thighs is a really special thing. And I have watched lots of runners say, oh, this is sore, therefore it's weak, therefore I must make it stronger. And that's a real good way to make anything you do to make it stronger is going to make it worse. And it's not going to fix the problem. Odds are pretty good when something isn't firing, isn't working. It's not specifically due to weakness. It is too weak to do what you're demanding it to do, but making it stronger is not the change that you need to make, which is why we always start with a medical professional and a pelvic floor PT. Or sorry, just a PT, not specific. Pelvic floor PT, if you can get it, shoot yes. But this one specifically, I would start with like a physical therapist.
Yeah, totally. Okay. Let us know if you have follow-up questions. Let's move on to maintain, where, like I said, we have 12 questions. Some of them are going to be quick. Some of them are not. But let's just dive into it. What should the week leading up to a Sunday marathon look like scaled back on maintain? Do we have a taper schedule?
We have a training plan.
Yes. So if you mean a full marathon, then yes, you should be on a training plan. If maybe you meant to say half marathon, then maybe we could, I know that there's actually someone else with this question. So maybe we could run through real quick what the week before half marathon should look like.
It's like,
yeah, I mean, if you,
there was a coupon.
I know.
And I love my runners who think that way. I love all my runners equally, but man, some of y'all, I don't understand the choices. So if somebody had just been like, it was $5 off, and that's 3%. I just couldn't walk away, so I decided to run the marathon this weekend.
Let's hope that is not what's meant. YOLOing a marathon on no training, not recommended. If you're on any of the 10-week marathon ramps, then yes, the taper is built into those. So just follow the plan. Half marathon, however, take it away.
Half marathon, I would definitely emulate what I have them do in the final week of the dedicated AF marathon plan. I believe it's a 60-minute or 50-minute 1x1 on Monday, a 40-minute.
60.
Yeah, okay, 60-minute 1x1 easy efforts. Whenever you see a 1x1 workout, and I say it's 60 minutes long, you're going to take that 60 minutes, divide it by 3. So it's 3 20-minute segments. Okay, 20-minute warm-up, 20-minute cool down. In between, that's 20 minutes of 1x1s, 10 sets. If it killed your brain with math, you are overthinking it. I promise. This is very, very basic, very simple. Yeah. So do that. And then you're going to do half that on Wednesday. So if you do 60 minutes on Monday, you're going to do, I believe the plan says 30 minutes. So 10, 10, 10.
Mm-hmm.
So 10 minute warm up, 10 minute cool down, 10 minutes 1x1 on Wednesday. And then on Tuesday, a 40-minute easy effort with some strides at the end.
Mm-hmm.
And then I would take Thursday's kind of up to you. I like to, because it takes a lot more power to race a half marathon. If you really decide to race it, like I'm going to give it everything I got. I really like to only do strides on Thursday and Friday, Saturday off completely, really just race the bejesus out of it on Sunday. So that's the only modification I think that I would make from the marathon race week in the dedicated AF plan.
Okay.
All of which are free there. If you do not have the plan, email us and ask for them. Since we hit the ground running with our programs, we have not yet had an opportunity to go figure out where in the membership area it would go and upload all the documents for the taking for you guys. But they are free. We will be putting a lot of new stuff, a lot of fun stuff soon enough in the members area. But we got to get through each day first. So apologies for that. If you need something, email info@coachandlove.com or info@fitnessprotection.com. We'll get them to you.
And if you go to the files section of the Maintain Facebook group, there are also PDF documents that have all of this in there. So click on dedicated AF template and key, and you will see the last week of the plan is what MK just described. So moving on, what is the difference physiologically and psychologically between 20-40 strides and 30-60 strides?
Physiologically, 20 seconds is all you need. We could go into the granularity of like how much firing your fast twitch needs as though you're a car or a machine. And I feel like that's really the wrong way to look at it. 20 seconds, it's my happy place because it's easier to think about than 90 seconds, for one. 2, it's easier to program into your puller or into your Garmin if you're trying to do those locked repeats rather than having to drag and drop every single one over. So some of it's just the simplicity of programming the workout in advance. But really when it comes to 30-60, the longer that recovery period tends to be, the more you guys ask from it. In the absence of knowledge or practical, tangible feedback, the vast majority of my clients are overachievers. And they will fill that blank with something negative. And I try to avoid that as much as possible. So in the past, this is where the psychology of it comes in. I got more questions about this didn't happen, so I think I suck. This didn't happen, so I am concerned. So I kind of stopped giving those out for a while. And I've started reintroducing them now because they are better. It's a little bit more and a little bit more recovery, but psychologically, what people think it's supposed to do or what they're supposed to get out of it, when it's 20 seconds, there's no expectation that you would nail the pace, right? You're probably going to go a little faster than 5K pace and no one cares. All I care about is that you get that deceleration back in there too. With 30 seconds, I don't know, man. People just, all the things that they don't think they need to do in 20-40 or don't worry about become problems when the strides are longer. So I just kept them all nice and short. So that physiologically, the longer one is better. But I mean, again, look at the time period we're talking about. Fast twitch muscles just need to be fired they need to be awake. They don't need to be flexed. You don't go to the gym to develop and increase fast twitch muscles. It's not like doing a deadlift. We're going to make that fast twitch muscle bigger. That's where all the plyometrics comes in. We want it to fire faster. It's a different way of looking at the same thing. If you've been to pelvic floor PT, because you got fast twitch muscles everywhere. This is why I laugh when people are like, I think I really want to build more fast twitch muscles. All I can think of is pelvic floor PT being like, okay, give me 10 squeezes. Where do you want those fast twitch muscles, yo? You got them literally everywhere. That's not how the body works. So that's kind of the long and the short of it. They're better, but like that doesn't mean that the 2040 is bad. So with the longer ones, again, it tends to stress people out. And I'm just trying to avoid stress because they're not so much better that they're worth the stress.
Yeah. And I totally agree with the whole, like, a minute is easier to think about and easier to program and easier to like think to yourself, okay, how long is this workout going to take? Like that all by itself makes a big difference.
Yep.
All right. So next question is, hi coaches, Emma here. Just wondering your opinion on slow burn timing. Emma is running sim.
Hello.
I expect most of December to be a recovery from next week's marathon. Woo! Is January too soon for me to sign up for slow burn?
I don't think so. And here's why. In the past, just about everything I've done has been contingent upon like a really long training program. And people are so burnt out by the end of it. And I get that. But things are the way they are because they were the way they were, right? People would only sign up for a coach when they wanted to get fit or when they wanted to get their act back together, when they wanted discipline back. Very few people ever truly maintained on the level they intended to when they went into maintenance mode or ran as much as they had promised themselves that they would. The die is cast. It doesn't matter if that's a 10-week plan or a 20-week plan. The die is cast on day one, like as to how much we can improve you in that period of time. So I really prefer a way we do things of like maintaining year round, not really going hard ever, but definitely not stopping. So that 10-week ramp, as you saw, Sarah, it's over like, whoa, oh, I raced this weekend. And that's a good thing. Mm-hmm. So I am less concerned about someone coming out of sim and doing slow burn because the chances of them being burned out going into sim are so much lower than they would have been in any other place I've ever worked, which is not to denigrate. That's just how the entire running industry operates everywhere you go. It's all event driven because in between people don't want to be coached. They don't care. And that generally speaking, you guys do. And I love that. And I love you for it, but we're doing things differently and we're going to get different results. And this is why. If I had been asked this question at any other time, I would have been very hesitant coming out of a 20 or a 24-week training plan to be like, yeah, let's jump into slow burn. I would be like, are you sure? You need to go be a little unstructured for a while. You need to not talk to me for a while. And that, again, is true. The amount of pressure people put on themselves to perform and to do things right, it all becomes about the race, right? That's 20 weeks of only thinking about one day where so many things can go wrong and that have nothing to do with you or your training. So you have not been operating in that type of a vacuum, Emma, is what I'm trying to say. This has been hopefully it's been unlike any other training cycle you've ever had in the past. And so to that end, it's a different answer than I would have given you previously because it's a different situation than you've been in previously. So no, it's a very long and hopefully thorough way of explaining exactly why I have no qualms about you starting slow burn in January if you want to do slow burn in January.
Yay! I am very excited. And there have been a lot of people talking about starting slow burn in January. I think it's going to be a good group. And I think you'll know if it's too soon. I think you'll know because you're really good at listening to your body. So next question. I'm interested in a hilly marathon in 2020. Would I need to train any differently other than training on hills? I live in a hilly area, so every run includes hills by default. Should I always walk the hills to keep my heart rate under 140? When I start the taper, do I limit the hills in each run? Any advice would be lovely. Thanks.
I think the biggest changes that I make when it comes to hills, it's definitely you want to run on hills all the time. And if you live in a hilly area, that's great. People misunderstand why we need hill repeats. And they traditionally show up in marathon training plans. So back when I was saying earlier about the fast twitch muscles, like you don't need big, sexy fast twitch muscles. It's not how they work. You just need them on and firing. So most of the things that we do for fast twitch muscles either come from plyometrics, which is like explosive type, the jumping up and down or burpees, jumping type of workouts. And it comes from things like hill repeats where you're just putting out incredible amounts of power with every step. So again, and not to put the focus on the fast twitch muscles, but the sort of things that I would want to see would be an increase in power output. And that would come from strength. It would come from specifically strength so that when you power up the hills, you're more efficient. I would not change the approaches on runs so much, but what I would do is if you have a Stryd or can afford it, I think tonight's the last night of their Black Friday sale, but my Coach MK discount code will still work by the time you hear this podcast. So go grab one of those. I used to Stryd when I ran the New York City Marathon. What Power does is gives you a very good sense of evening out your effort. It's a terrific guide for it because it moves instantaneously where heart rate does not. So if you're going to be running with a whole lot of hills and training for a race with a whole lot of hills, it might be useful, again, if you have the disposable income and you can't afford it, to go grab a Stryd because that is about the only constant you can get when the terrain is undulating. So that aside, I would definitely focus on booty strength, on glute strength. I would focus on core strength. I would definitely take all the strength stuff that we do very seriously. And Sarah, if you remind me, I can pull out, there was a series that I gave people on the Bosu balls a couple years ago, and I would be happy to share that again. It's great when you can throw it in there, but like if you don't have a Bosu, don't stress out and go buy one. But if you do have one, it would be lovely and very, very useful. So the focus should be on increasing your efficiency through strength and getting really, 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 really used to hills, not specifically because hills make you stronger, although they do, but rather to be so used to running on hills that when you show up on race day, you know exactly how to moderate your effort between the ups and the downs, which is something, my people in, say, Kansas have to struggle with.
Mm-hmm. And building off of that, so actually the next question is about power and about the Stryd foot pod. So let's add on to that. All this talk about the Stryd foot pod has me wondering, how do you even train power? Is it a form thing? Is it a strength thing? I love data, just wondering what I would do with more data.
I hear you. So the way that I used it, my background with the Stryd is a little different. I'm actually going to do a podcast with them talking about this in a couple of weeks. But it was
exciting.
Thank you. I'm really excited. Now, I was given my Stryd as a baby gift for Violet, and I didn't want to touch it. I'm like, I don't need another data point telling me that I'm out of shape after a really bad pregnancy. I just don't. Yeah. So it sat in a box for a while. When I pulled it out, I think it was more grudging because the person who bought it for me pushed it on me. Was like, you're not using this yet. That's very rude. That was an expensive gift. I'm like, you're correct. But I said, once again, I don't need another data point telling me that I'm out of shape. What was incredibly useful about it was that I was out of shape and my heart rate was all over the place. And it was really, really high at times for no good reason. And now we know that reason was partially the tumor. But also, what do you do with that? It was really hard to know. So once I learned kind of where my numbers were and what my ranges looked like, because there is a learning curve with it that's adopted to each person, it made things a whole lot easier. If a run was hard or my heart rate was higher, I could look down and be like, but my power was right where it needed to be. I didn't feel so bad. I'm like, okay, my heart rate's higher than usual. It's more effort than usual, but this is the same run that I did yesterday. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Let's say Monday, my heart rate's at 146 and I'm running a 13-minute mile. And then on Tuesday, my heart rate is at 158 and I'm running the same pace. Then I'm like, well, gosh, what happened? It's not like I lost fitness overnight, but it's maddening when you're trying to search for improvement and, things are all over the place. That could look down and be like my Stryd on day one was 161. My power was 161. My power on Tuesday, 161. It felt like the same run because it was. What was off was me. I still cannot give anyone carte blanche to just run 100% by power without paying any mind to heart rate, and I never will. I think the two can work together for the hobby jogger who is going to have a much wider range of variability in things like power output and heart rate than, say, an elite who is more like a machine and their range is very, very, very narrow. So it could be one or the other. But if you're coming back from injury like I was, if you are not at 100% optimal fitness, which means like Olympic caliber fitness, then there's a pretty interesting argument to be made for yet another piece of data that can just make you feel better and give you decent guidance. It's not about doing everything differently, but to have that third data point while my body was going through such incredible change. And I felt so bad about myself. And I was like terrified that this thing was never going to feel good again because I can't trust my body. Mm. And I look down and I'm like, well, I feel like I'm going really slowly, but I was running like a 9:30 mile and that's not okay. And then I look down and I see that like, well, actually my power is at 183 and that's right where it needed to be. Yay. Okay. It was less effort to have a really good run today. It's easy to be like, this is the guide of what you should do, but it's shaming to live in the should, and it's shaming to train in the should. So I was able to integrate Stryd and power specifically through Stryd, because it's coming through your wrist. It's a calculation. It's not the same. You want it on a foot pod. You want it in Stryd. You want it on your foot. That is the only place power can reliably be measured at the moment. It told me that I wasn't crazy. The runner I was before is still in here. And when I felt like my instincts were failing me, that my body was failing me, the constant was Stryd to be like, there, actually, that was exactly what you thought it was. It was just a little faster today. Actually, that's exactly what you thought it was. Your heart rate's just higher today, but you didn't sleep. It's fine.
Wow, that's really powerful.
I thought so. Thank you.
I mean, I've heard you talk about power a lot. You've never laid it out quite exactly in those terms. Something kind of new comes out over time. And I love that.
That's kind of what they liked about it too. They were like, wait, how did you use it? No one designed Stryd with me in mind. So when I met them at the New York City Marathon Expo, they were like, how did you use it? And I'm like, yeah, I know, I'm some fat woman. And again, in a room full of whippets, right? In the elite, no one is hanging out in the Martin corner. See, Martin is the fuel, that racing fuel, the drink that Kipchoge consumed when he broke 2 in the marathon. And the team who created Stryd was there making that happen too. So this was like the sciencey science elite corner of the New York City Marathon Expo. And then here comes me, with blisters on my feet, rolled up like, hey, you said that you would give us all race plans. They did not expect to see me, and we ended up having an interesting conversation that I'm hoping will lead to something more, a bigger collaboration. We'll see. But yeah, I have a lot of good things to say. I think that there is a very interesting use case for the Stryd that goes way beyond the way they currently look at their demographic of people who would be interested. And I think there's a very strong argument to be made for our people.
I love that.
We're just not going to use it the same way they do.
Yeah. Stay tuned, everybody. MK is going to disrupt the Stryd power meter demographic. It's going to be great.
I'm going to quintuple it.
Woo!
I'm not here to disrupt. I'm here to grow. So I'm going to get handball.
They should be grateful. All right. So the next question is about getting the Training Peaks workouts to my Garmin. How do I do it? And I know that you don't run with Garmin. I know I don't run with Garmin. I'll tell you who runs with Garmin, though, is Katie Hansen. And in the Rebuild group, I did a little video streamcast showing people how to program in Polar Flow. And Katie Hansen did an amazing job of jumping in there and adding a whole bunch of screenshots of how you program in Garmin. So if you are a member of Maintain and you want to see how Katie Hansen does it, request to join the Rebuild Facebook group, and I will tag you in that thread so that you can go in there and see it. But basically, it looks actually much more straightforward than Polar. Basically, you just go into your Garmin Connect and you go into training and you create a workout. And so the answer to your question is you have to manually do it in Garmin Connect. And I don't know how to use Garmin Connect, but if you would like to see the screenshots and the instructions that Katie uploaded, they are super, super detailed. Thank you, Katie Hansen. You're amazing. Request to join Rebuild and I will let you in.
Perfect.
All right. Next question. I have not done strength since Halloween due to back-to-back races. Can I hop back into the circuit for December? The November circuits looked a bit intense.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, the November circuits were intense. We ratcheted it all back a notch in December.
Yeah. And December's going to be real fun. We've got Cavalin and Janet helping out. So please do jump back in December. It's going to be great. Next question. Let's just say, asking for a friend. I want to run a race that includes stretches through sand. Oh my God. I don't live somewhere I can train on sand. Do you have any suggestions for training for that kind of race? I'm looking forward to the 2020 race planning webinar and just trying to decide ahead of time if this race would be a misery fest or not.
Well, I mean, I think it sounds like a misery fest. I don't like running on loose sand. I hate it. I've heard so many people say it's so good for your ankles, but they're usually the same people that are like, I love being in nature. And then they go for a run, don't know what a tick looks like and end up with Lyme disease. I'm not saying trails are bad. I also get real touchy when people say that roads are bad. I'm like, anything's good till it isn't anymore. Or it depends on how stupid you want to be. You can make anything. Water could be dangerous if you decided to fill your lungs with it. I don't know. To that end, when it comes to sand, what makes sand so tricky is called purchase. So when you're trying to get purchase on the ground, it's going to be hard to balance. And every footfall is going to be a little bit different. You're going to need really strong ankles. More than that, you're going to need to be really stable. You need to spend a lot of time barefoot on a Bosu ball, making sure your glutes fire appropriately, making sure that your shins are mobilized, making sure that your ankles are ready for what it is you're about to do. I would hate for you to show up, jog in the first quarter of a mile, find out that your tendons are too lax for this. To give you an example, one of my running buddies, Anna, who I ran the 2016 Philadelphia Marathon with, she played soccer on a really high level through most of college, and she is prone to rolling her ankles from all the kicking and all the angles that she had to operate in. Her tendons down there are a little bit loose. And as a result, something like this would be an absolute no-go for her. As she finds out every time she goes on a trail, she rolls her ankle and will be out for a couple weeks. So she doesn't go on trails very often. So let's just go for a jog on sand somewhere if you can. I would rather you not find out this thing about yourself on race day. Go for a jog, if you can, on a trail that's covered in scree. That's still going to have more purchase than you're going to have on loose, dry sand. But if that is complicated, it'll give you an indication of how hard this thing on the beach is going to be. But those would be my two biggest concerns. Number one, if you played soccer on a high level or just have played it for a really long time, make sure you're not on it. And number two, make sure that your glutes are going to be able to stabilize the rest of your body and your legs, and that we're not straining the margins of what we're demanding your ankles do once we get in that sand.
All right. Yeah, that sounds very right. And do please let us know what you decide to do and if we can help in any other way. And speaking of activation and ankles and all the good things, does silly toes activate the glutes before a run, or is there another move to be completed before a run to activate the glutes?
Yes. Yep. Silly toes.
Do your silly toes.
Another one, it would be side slides with the loop around your ankles.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. Yeah. All right. I always struggle with how to ramp back up my training after a race. Now that Philly is done, how long should I rest before I jump back in? Should I stick with easy effort for a while? And am I okay to jump back into the full length of the scheduled long run next weekend?
It's up to you. It's whatever you want. I know that I wanted to do more than what my coach wanted me to do coming out of New York. I am not going to demand that anyone be as conservative as I was. If you feel good, go ahead and jump in. Give me at least one full week, though, of easy effort and the long runs, two preferably before you start adding in the harder runs, because trying to do everything at once, if you're not 100% recovered, then remember, it takes 3 or 4 weeks to fully recover from a marathon. Again, that's not about you're so weak or you were undertrained. It just is. That's about the event. That's about the demand that event places on the human body. So it's going to be about a full 4 weeks before your body will be in a position to improve. You are more likely to overtrain than you are to improve for the immediate 4 to 6 week period following a marathon. So more is not necessarily better. If you like the long run, then let's make that the thing you keep. If you're like, no, I really like some of the more intense workouts, great, do that. Cap the long run at 95 minutes. Let's not jump back into everything too quickly. I give a very different answer for a half marathon, but again, it's far less stress and far faster recovery time than a full.
Yep.
And congratulations on Philly, by the way. I love Philly.
Yay.
Did you see they disqualified 147 cheaters?
I did not see that. No.
147. Evidently,
I have heard that Philly is a big course for cheating. Yeah. Well,
makes me so sad.
Relatively speaking. Yeah, I know. Oh, there's like a big out and back, right? That's kind of the
at Manium. But I mean, I'm trying to think how a person could do that and think they wouldn't be caught.
Yeah. Oh, I know. That's as we've talked about before on the podcast. It's like it's hard to think about it, and yet there is always part of me that kind of like dwells on it a little bit every time there's a story like that.
Because that's an egregious number, you guys. It's one thing when it's a couple. That's a number big enough that justifies everything Marathon Investigation does. And I don't agree with everything that they do, but I saw that and was like, whoa, okay, you've got my attention now. Yep.
Yeah. Yikes. Well, I still really want to run that race someday, and I will just make sure people take lots of pictures of me all along the course.
No, I think with the race director, because I think the guy at Marathon Investigation has reached out to the race directors at Philly before multiple times and been like, you guys have a problem, I'd like to help you. You guys have a problem, I'd like to help you. So I have a feeling that this will be the impetus for them to start working with him. on ways to, but Arizona, Phoenix has a similar problem.
Mm-hmm.
I would not be like, choose your races around what this guy recommends, because it's not like, well, if you ran Philly, then you might have cheated. It's rather like, just don't cheat, if you are aware and you're a race director and you're aware that a lot of cheating happens at your course, it's not hard to stop it without having to change the course. You just station people, So when I ran Philly, and I'll end on this, where the out and back is, it is so narrow, and it is not easy to jump over the water tables to cut the course and try to cut the out and back short.
Mm-hmm.
I can imagine where they would try to make it harder, but there's also a lot of you'd be doing this with crowds watching you and taking your number. It's so stupid. It is so stupid. So I hope they don't change the course. I'm sure they'll just put up more barriers,
which hopefully would actually do the trick.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have 2 more questions. The first one is half marathon strategy. I've only done one race before, and the EAT strategy resulted in me going too fast too quickly. It's a pretty flat course. I always love race reports and listen to people's strategies, but I'm not sure where to start for me. Thank you for making me feel so coached and loved.
You're welcome. Well, remember, the EAT strategy is not to be like, they're not targets, they're caps. It's not that I tell you what to do. I tell you what absolutely not ever to do. Meaning, like, you're in mile 3 of the marathon, your heart rate's at 186. No. You're at mile 10 of the marathon, your heart rate's at 186. Probably not a good bet that you're making right now. So it's not about like, we're at mile 3, you need to get your heart rate up too. I've never said that and never would. So then you need to kind of ask yourself, what was the EAT saying to me and what did I hear? And then maybe the adjustments need to be made from there. Well, she said 145, my heart rate was at 150. Okay, then maybe we need to move the 145 back down to 140. It's like when my husband and I need to go somewhere, he's military, and he was submarines. So there's an extra bit of angst about being on time places, because when you're late to get on the submarine, you are court-martialed. It is not good. It's a very high incentive to be on time and actually early to work. And that PTSD has not gone anywhere yet. We're the people that are awkwardly 20 minutes early everywhere we go. And when we're not, he is really stressed about it. And I don't operate the same way. I'm like, church starts at 9, whatever. We can walk out. But he's like, that means we must leave. I'm thinking we're going to leave at 8:30. But he will tell me that things start it actually starts at 8:30 to make sure that we're there by 9. And it's not like I'm specifically a half hour late everywhere. It's just like, I only stress out when it's time to stress out, in my opinion. And that's not something to stress out over. Everything where we say we're going to go, there's no distinction between something we've elected to do and where a court martial could be waiting for you, none whatsoever. So that is a system that we have designed. He tells me things start earlier than they actually do, but it's effective. So maybe we need to redesign a race plan for you around something like that. Because the EAT, again, is never supposed to tell you how fast to go. It's to give you sort of permission. Well, you could do this. And did you increase too soon? Was increasing, did you know you didn't need to go faster, but did anyway? Let's talk about where the EAT failed you and had you going too fast, and tweak it until we have something that works a little bit better. I really don't have enough information to do that with right now, but I get that it's hard. I really wanted to, and I'll end on this. I really wanted to stream my my pre-race call with Tia, because I know what people have asked me to do in the past in our pre-race calls looks nothing like what happens in reality with coaches and runners. Mm-hmm. I mean, even if they're elite. That's, if you're professional like Steph Bruce, right? She knows she's going out for a 5:26, but she can feel the difference between a 5:26 and a 5:35 because she's that finely tuned a machine. Most of us aren't. I can't necessarily feel the difference between a 9:30 and a 10:15 right now. And I just ran a marathon a little bit faster than that. And I tell you that to tell you this, the good guidance isn't, okay, mile 1, 8:28, mile 2, 8:42, mile 3, and that's the sort of granularity you guys want, that's just not how it works. So let's think a little bit differently about what went wrong, and then we can get closer to what went right, because what went wrong usually starts with the interpretation of the race plan versus like what I say the plan is. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Everyone thinks it's going to be this prescriptive thing, and I don't do prescriptions. No one does. I don't know a single coach who does prescriptions. What we do is we give you good guidelines and margins for error and a space to operate in. That's it. So if I say like this is going to be between a 9:20 and a 9:40, and you're running like an 8:45, you're outside the margin.
I remember learning that about the way you recommend doing racing and feeling like, okay, this is a place where I feel like I can sort of exist, because the prescriptive type of race plans that I had always looked for and found in the past felt really stressful to me. And
they don't work.
Like, oh, I'm behind. And I hate that feeling. I don't care how long it takes me to run a race. I've discovered I would so much rather do the work to find like a headspace where I don't feel like I'm behind. That is going to make it so much better for me, no matter what the finish time is. And that's just,
you know, what's going to put you further behind? Having to walk. So anything you do to catch up is just going to set you behind.
Right. So if you have more questions, if you want to like follow up a little bit to this answer with some more specifics of your own, and we can help, please let us know. I know you and I have already corresponded a little bit over email about heading into this race, so feel free to reach out again. And yay, we're excited for you. Yay. All right.
Because again, it's not about like right or wrong. It's about finding the effective cue. What's going to work.
Right. So the last question and maintain is my lower back has been super tight starting a few weeks ago. It feels like if I move the wrong way, it might spaz out on me. I'm wondering if this is due to tightness and or weakness elsewhere. I have admittedly not been nearly as conscientious with foam rolling as I should be, so I'm refocusing my energy there again, beyond the regular foam rolling routine. Do you have any other suggestions for foam rolling or other moves that might help loosen up tight lower back muscles?
Lower back's a tricky thing. I'll tell you what you didn't say. If you had been like, well, my hamstrings are really tight, I would be like, well, that could be putting pressure on your lower back. If you had mentioned pain elsewhere, I would be like, oh, well, that's what it is. But you didn't. So if we don't exactly know what's going on, I would hesitate to be like, oh, you can fix it with foam rolling. You really need to go see a physical therapist. So with that said, if they're like not able to see kind of what's going on, then the next step would be a pelvic floor PT, because a lot of things that happen in the lower back can be originating in the pelvic floor, as I found out the hard way in 2016. And when with all the rehab that I had to do, if you remember that brief period I had to do rehab, it started 2017, and had to pull out of the Austin half marathon on my way to Pittsburgh. That was not fun, but that a lot of, press ups and a lot of, so I tell you that to say this, the tight muscles could be an indicating of something bigger. I'm not saying you have this. I'm saying tight muscles could point to a disc starting to bulge. It could point to scoliosis. It could point to something structural that is not going to be solved with a stretch. So I would hesitate to try to diagnose it with foam rolling, although, foam rolling is the business and you guys need to be doing that every day.
Yeah, definitely. So follow up with us. Let us know if you manage to see someone who can look at you and touch you and give you a little bit of a better sense of what's going on. I hope you get it figured out. That does not sound like fun. Woo! Hard work is done, but you know that the run doesn't end until you have a nice cool down and get on that foam roller. And do we have anything else we want to tell the people before we jump off here?
No, just like, I love you guys. Thank you for being here. I appreciate it all. I did want to take 1 minute to say something about an email that I sent out last week. And I had been talking about the Holiday Strength Challenge. And I had made a specific reference to Uncle Mike falling, no one talks about the fact that Uncle Mike has fallen asleep in the sweet potato pie again. And a couple of you reached out and said that was, a very hurtful image. And I wanted to apologize for that. I absolutely can see how that would be hurtful. The image that I was trying to describe, though, was specifically my Uncle Mike, who, because with the things we never talked about in my family include, but are not limited to, why Uncle Mike fell asleep in the pie. Because we're Southern and we don't have difficult conversations and we don't have unpleasant conversations. Like, I don't go to my mother when I need to have like a deep, heavy emotional conversation. I know that. She doesn't, she will not. And it has nothing to do with her love for me. It's just how she operates. I take that elsewhere. But for years, because when no one explains this to children, we make up our own answers. And it all had to do with the fact that he was old. When I was 10 years old, 8 or 10, maybe, we had, nobody liked having him like come over for any of the holidays. And his sisters were insistent, like, we can't do holidays without him. And he was really incontinent. He would pee everywhere. And so like we wanted to get him to his sweet potato pie and to the bathroom before he sat down on anything, and then get him home as quickly as possible so we could go about with our Thanksgiving. And that was the Thanksgiving thing for years. And when I was around 8 or 10 years old, I remember thinking like, oh, I forgot the TV's on, and turn the TV off. Oh, because he's sleeping. Uncle Mike falls asleep in sweet potato pie. Everybody stands up from the table, takes their plates, and walks out of the room, as we did every year, to let him sleep in peace. And I'll go back in to turn off the TV, and I catch him like he's now, like, instead of being face down in the sweet potato pie, he's sideways watching TV. And I'm like, oh, Uncle Mike. And he's like, shh. You know, I'm awake. I'm going to have to pee on the couch to get out of here. I was like, whoa.
Wow.
Whoa. Uncle Mike, to be perfectly clear, had dementia nor incontinence. He just didn't want to be there. And no one took no for an answer. So he found the socially palatable way to be unpleasant as possible and get out of there as quickly as possible. And I think we can all learn a lot from my Uncle Mike. That's not his real name. We can all learn a lot from my Uncle Mike, God rest his soul, who was unafraid to do whatever he had to do to make Thanksgiving and every other holiday work for him. And that's what we're going for in the Holiday Strength Challenge. So if that image, devoid of context, was hurtful, I sincerely apologize. I can tell you that wasn't my intent. My intent was to allude to my own, but, you know, frankly, what we do in the Holiday Strength Challenge is all the things we can't talk about, things we don't talk about, the things that are uncomfortable, the things that make the holidays stressful. All I want to do is give y'all some tools that would make Uncle Mike proud so that you can turn the tables on a situation that is stressing you out. Now, we're not going to be like going all the way deep there. We are trying to keep it as light and fun as humanly possible, because there are a whole lot of reasons why a person could fall asleep in sweet potato pie. I get that respectfully. But there are some problems that are too big for us to solve and won't be handled with the strength move. I'm a run coach, not a life coach, but the tools that I give you are for entertainment purposes only. They do not replace therapy. They do not replace a training plan. Really, we're just trying to take a time of year that is notably stressful for a whole lot of people, in no small part due to the things that we don't talk about and the support that we think we're supposed to get from our family and don't, or at least a lot of us don't, and trying to reconcile that into something that can work for us, or at least make us feel empowered when we walk into these situations. Because very few of us are going to be willing to commit to the notion of falling so deeply asleep in food or peeing on a couch. I mean, my Uncle Mike took it to a brand new level. I'm not going to ask you guys to do those things, but I am going to give you some things or tips and tricks that I learned in charm school that are just awkward enough to shut down an awkward conversation that you don't want to be in or that is hurting you in some way. So, and again, just to be respectful to everyone. I'm sure that image could have meant a lot of things to a lot of people. That is specifically what that one meant to me and why I put it in there. And I suppose it was thoughtless, and I'm sorry. But I'm not sorry for telling the Uncle Mike story, because he's fantastic.
I love your Uncle Mike story. Thank you so much for sharing that. And I think that is such a great, that's such a great conduit to the Holiday Strength Challenge, because that is exactly what we're doing. And so far it has been so much fun. I'm so excited to demonstrate my move on Wednesday. I've got a whole plan. I've got a script. It's going to be great. Don't miss it, guys.
Chris is demonstrating on Monday, right?
Either Chris or Kara, yes.
Very exciting. So the first one was the slow rise, or the stand, as I call it, where you rise to a full standing position over the course of 60 seconds without saying a word. Bonus if you take your shirt off first, because nothing will shut down conversation faster than taking your shirt off and continuing to eat like nothing happened.
Oh my God.
Don't complain, don't explain.
Yep. And photos or it didn't happen. You know, that's the rule for all this stuff. Or at least very detailed descriptions after the fact. We at least need that from you.
You've got to tell the story. If you use any of Uncle Mike's tips, you got to tell the story.
Yes. All right, that is it for Ask the Coaches Sunday night. Question Q&O. I love that. That's amazing.
That was all Nadia Bowles-Weber. That was not me. But, I like to think I had some answers, but the answer is always go see a PT.
Yep, absolutely. And listen to our Alex Layton podcast and then go see a PT. That would be mine.
Yes, for sure.
Have a good night, everybody.
Your coach, your love. Join the Holiday Strength Challenge. Do not forget to sign up for the webinar on Friday, and you'll be winning life.